Okay, hello everybody. We are right back into the Reddit verse on our epic quest through all of the echo chambers online. And we are speeding through them now. We're running out of subreddits to go through. But there is one pretty popular one called "Am I the Asshole?" and that's a subreddit where people will go on and they'll post an experience that they had, and then they'll ask if whether or not that they were in the right or the wrong, and people will respond in the comments either yes, you're the asshole, or no, you're not the asshole. So I came across this post right here that kind of blew my mind, but it's a pretty good example of why you should never run to the internet for advice, or at least you should never go to these spaces for advice. You should ask your friends and family and your people that you trust, or at least people that you flesh and blood people that you know, where there's some sort of accountability. But let me read this to you quickly. It's a little bit, I mean, it's not super long, but the title is "Am I the Asshole for Requesting a Non-Transgender Nurse?" Trigger warning, sexual assault. So this person says, I was recently sexually assaulted, raped, and beaten. I needed time, medical attention, even though I was embarrassed and didn't want to. Soon after what happened, I took myself to a hospital and was placed in one of those examination rooms and was waiting. The nurse who was tasked with examining me was trans, male wanting to be female. Please keep in mind that I'm in a foreign country at this point, from very conservative Eastern European country, and transgender people literally don't exist or you don't see them. And it's not something I think most people know about. So I never was exposed to this. I felt confused and I told the nurse I thought he would be a female nurse. He instead started to be offended and told me that he was a female nurse and I should not be misgendering him. I don't know what that is, but I just told him I wanted a female nurse. He told me if I kept being disrespectful, he would need to leave. I started crying and told him I wanted to speak with someone else. After he left, another nurse came in and she asked what the issue was, and I told her. She told me she was sorry, but that he was a good nurse and wouldn't do anything inappropriate. But I'm not comfortable being examined in an intimate way by a trans nurse. I wasn't trying to insult anyone. At this point, I felt uncomfortable, so I left. I guess it's possible I'm the asshole because I did not let the nurse do his job despite being professional, and I told him I wanted a different nurse. So am I the asshole for that? Question mark. See, this is a very interesting situation, very interesting story. Horrible, obviously, that this happened to this person. And the sexual assault I'm referring to, it's a horrible thing that they had to deal with this and in this way. And the one thing I'll say, well, never mind. So if we look at the comments and we look what people have to say in response to this experience, we scroll down and the top comment says, yeah, I don't believe this story, followed by more anti-trans rage bait. And one thing worth noting is that on this site, but this subreddit especially, you will get much, much crazier, wilder, improbable, long drawn out stories and detailed experiences that people will post on here, and no one will dare say, I don't believe this. Everyone will entertain it, they'll appease it, they'll give their advice because it's entertaining one way or another. They don't really care if it's real or not real, because this sub, for all intents and purposes, is an entertainment website. But you get something like this where it potentially calls into question a separate issue that maybe certain people on this site feel a certain way about or feel pretty strongly about. Then the reaction changes, and then the reaction is, yeah, I don't believe you. Yeah, I know you say you got sexually assaulted and you were raped and beaten, and you went to seek medical attention, but I don't believe you. I think you're transphobe. That's literally what this person is saying. The next comment, the second highest upvoted comment, rage bait. So same thing. Any nurse, male, female, transgender, or cis, would help you get your examination sorted with the person you trusted, even if it meant searching for someone else to do the job. So this story is fabricated. So this person is taking the liberty of telling them what would have happened in their specific situation. And I don't believe you that you were raped and beaten. I don't believe you that this happened because I know how hospitals work and I know how trans people work within hospitals, and I know that this is impossible. A trans person never would have said this or done this. So this story is fake. Next one. How do you know the nurse was trans? Well, it's a valid question, but I think certain times it's more obvious than others. And we'll leave it at that. Oh yeah, this person is basically is implying that didn't happen. Um, Fake story. This is the first person to say that the original poster's not the asshole. Women deserve the right to same-sex care. So another interesting thing, like the idea or the significant part of the story, which these people are basically straight up ignoring, is that this person just admitted to experiencing an incredibly horrible and traumatic sexual assault. They're also opening up to being in a place they are not familiar with, so they're not used to the Western transgender progressive trend. So I could actually very much see this situation happening, and I could only see it happening more and more in a world where that population is increasing, and there are other populations completely unfamiliar with this newer transgender sort of way of thinking. So this is a completely conceivable situation, 100%. Whether or not this person is lying, there's no way for us to know that. But the revealing aspect is in the assumption that this person is lying. Because even if you were to throw like a 20/80 odds on that, if there's a 20% chance, which I think that's incredibly low, this person, I would believe them. I think they're probably telling the truth. Uh, Even if you were to put like 20% odds on that, you are taking a 20% chance that you are absolutely negating and completely disregarding, delegitimizing this person's experience, which, if true, would be a obviously horrible experience. So there's something vicious. There's something really wrong with this kind of reaction right here. And again, like we said, there's been much crazier and probable things that people have posted, and no one would care to call them out for it being untrue. They only care to call it out for being false if there's something within the story that doesn't support a situation that would favor their way of thinking. And that specifically in this example is regarding the transphobia. But I don't know. Maybe I am the asshole. Maybe I'm unreasonable. But I would think, just from a human, like, personal standpoint, if you had someone that is coming from a situation where that just happened to them, like literally going to the hospital, they're a foreigner. They're not in their home country, and they're not maybe familiar with the idea of men in general who were men, having genital reconstruction surgery and taking specific types of hormones to stop the natural production of other hormones in their body, and another number of other things that are intentional efforts to kind of cut you off from your biological genetic skeleton. If you aren't really familiar with that whole, like, process, and if you're not really used to seeing those types of people, because some pass better than others, but you can kind of tell, not to be, you can tell. Okay, I can definitely see how that would be alarming, and you would want to be sensitive to someone in that situation, because it's very obvious that, and especially the situation where admittedly this person says that they were working in a more intimate area, I could definitely understand why you wouldn't want someone who appears to be a man or appears to be a version of a man performing that on you following that experience you just had. So, too much to speculate on, too much unknown that we don't have here. But the replies, as always happens within these episodes, is what reveals the way of thinking, and should, on its face, show or demonstrate why you shouldn't be relying on these echo chambers for personal advice. Because this is an incredibly personal story, an incredibly personal issue if it's true, and you put yourself out there on the internet to try to honestly get a better understanding, a better perspective on your experience. And these people came out and just told you to shut up and sit down, and that your story isn't worth anything, that your story is made up, and that you're just a transphobe looking for attention. Like that, nah, it doesn't seem like something you would want to do to an actual victim. But hey, nothing's new here. This fits right along with everything we've seen so far on our journey. So we'll make this one short. And just another kind of one-off post here that's worth opening up and then proving little by little, one by one, or demonstrating and showing why you shouldn't rely on these spaces, or at least you should be more critical when you are going through these spaces and observing the advice that's being given, because it's not representative of real people in real life, or at least not the average person in real life, So, but thanks for stopping by today, guys, and I'll see you at the next one.